Welcome to the Parent-Child Book Club, where we review the great books we are reading together. We will curate the best age-appropriate books, both modern and classics, to help you build special memories for both parent and child, develop a lifelong enjoyment of reading, and build a library of the best literature for your child that they can share one day with their own children.
Today we are reviewing The Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling, first published in 1894.
Hi, I'm Mark.
And I'm Aria.
And together we are the Parent
And Child Book Club.
And today I am visited by Shanti. You might recognize her as the little girl that shows up from the village at the end of the movie for Jungle Book. But what's fascinating about that?
She's not in the book at all.
We're doing Jungle Book today, and she is not in Jungle Book. Now, she does show up in a second volume, Jungle Book 2. But in the original Jungle Book, two fascinating things. One, Shanti is not there. The story, Mowgli's story, is very different than what we expected it to be, having watched the movie. But another surprise is that Mowgli's story makes up maybe 35 or 40% of the Jungle Book, as different as it is. And then there are several other stories in the book
that are not about Mowgli.
Not about Mowgli, in completely different environments than Mowgli is in. And we'll talk about that a little bit. So why don't you kind of tell us about each of the stories and what happens in each one?
There's Mowgli's story, and then there's a story about a seal. And what is very interesting about that book is that it's very rare because every seal that is in that story is either black, brown, or gray, and he was born white and furry, which was kind of weird because no other seal in that story is white and furry.
And then he kind of so the color sets him apart from the others. The other thing that sets him apart from the others is the plot of the story. And in that story, he is trying to find a safe harbor for his family and all the other seals, because every year they return to the same beach, but seal hunters return there every year too and slaughter thousands of them. So they're trying to find a safe place for the seals. What's the next story?
The next story is Rikki Tikki Tavi, which is about a mongoose. And a mongoose's job in real life is to kill cobras. And so Nag and Nagaina,
the two cobras.
Yes, they are plotting to kill Teddy, his owner. And Rikki Tikki Tavi, he comes in and he stops Nag and Nagaina from killing his
Now, when I was
owner.
When I was a little boy, I saw a movie, an animated version of Rikki Tikki Tavi, and it is just like the story in Jungle Book. So if you watch that animated story from the 70s, sometime in there, just be prepared. It is very much like the story. What other stories are in the Jungle Book?
There is a story about story of Tumai, who is Tumei, who is a young boy who trains elephants to go and find other elephants to bring them back and train them to do the same thing or other jobs along the way. And everyone has heard of a place called the Elephant Dance. Tumei actually goes out with Kavanagh, one of the elephants, to actually experience the sight of the elephant dance. And everyone else in the village are inspired because finally one of the villagers, for the first time since they were born to when they die, they never seen that place before.
Yes, so the elephant dance is this mythological, legendary event that the villagers believe that the elephants go to occasionally, but no one's ever seen it, so they aren't sure if it's real or not. And Tumai, I'm not sure which is the right pronunciation either, but he sneaks away on the back of one of the elephants and has this wonderful experience that no one else has ever had. And then the last story in the book.
Is about some animals who are sort of bragging between which animal's job is mostly important.
So they all work for the army.
Yes. So they are bragging like, hey, my job is more important. Hey, my job's more important. My job's more important. And they all are talking about how important each of their jobs are.
So
when really, their jobs are equally the most important.
Yeah, and what is important where it gets to is that everybody working together is important too. So you have camels and elephants and horses and bulls. I may have left off something in there, mules, and they're all talking between. And there's this one witness to it, the soldier, who is able to understand what the animals are saying, and he understands this conversation that they're having and shares it with us so that we understand it too. The neat thing about all of these stories, I would say, and I think that what you tell me if you agree with this, but I think children will enjoy them because the protagonist, the main driver of the action of each of the stories is either a child or one of the animals. And children tend to enjoy books like that. Don't you agree?
I agree. They also like the story that are set in different environments that are familiar, that we are familiar with in America, and that will make the stories interesting too.
Yeah, I agree. So this is Rudyard Kipling, who wrote the story, published it for the first time in 1894, and he was, at parts of his life, in India. And most of the parents, not many of the kids, will know that England had colonized India. And there are some references that parents may recognize in that. Sometimes they'll talk about the white person in the story or the person of color in the story, and one may be in a higher class and the other kind of a denigrating comment as well. So it only happens once or twice in the book, but just understand it is written during a time of when India was being colonized by England, and some of the subject line kind of flows into the stories because of that. There is, you had mentioned this earlier, there's a good deal of death and dying in the books, right? Fighting.
I also want to add on to this, really about, it was kind of interesting because the character in the movie, Ka, is a bad guy in the movie. He's trying to turn Mowgli onto his side by hypnotizing him with his eyes. So he is singing the song Trust in Me because he is saying to Mowgli, you can always trust me, I'll take care of you. But really what he's doing is trying to pull Mowgli from the good side to his side. And in the book, actually, he is sent by Baloo and Bagheera to help Mowgli escape from the monkeys.
So many differences from the book and the movie, and you're right, that's one of them that we were just really surprised. And I think if you know the movie, you will really enjoy reading the book because of the surprises. You may go into it thinking that it's very similar to the movie. I think you'll enjoy a lot of the surprises. But back to the death thing, it is a little more graphic in the stories in the Jungle Book. The fight scene between Shere Khan and Mowgli ends up in a more defined way. He doesn't just disappear into the ashes like he does in the movie. It's very clear that the battle ends in death, and then there's things that happen after the death as well. So it's just things that need to be aware of. They're going to be in there. You're 9 years old, and we read the book this year. Mm-hmm. And did you handle those stories okay?
I handled the stories okay, but when Shere Khan died or Nag and Nagaina died, I was kind of like, ugh.
They are tense moments and may create a little bit of anxiety for the children and the adults. But overall, we really enjoyed it. And do you recommend the book?
I recommend the book. It'll be hours of entertainment between parent and child that you and your children will both enjoy.
Thank you for joining us.
Bye.